lounge. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Vastyachare Sutarine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Vastyachare Sutarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaurabhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaurabhaktavinda Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Balalabha Girivardhari Gopijana Balalabha Yasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Bhajana Yasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtata Satashla A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Ananta Kota Vaishnavrinda Ki Namacharya Shla Harirasa Thakur Ki Prem Se Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhana Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Ganga Maya Ki Jamuna Maya Ki Tulasi Deva Ki Bhakti Deva Ki Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Lord Chaitanya's Harinam Sankirtan Ki Brihat Madanga Ki Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Shri Krishna Balaram Ki Shri Radha Govinda Madhava Ki Shri Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Agoda Premanandi, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru and Grand God to Shri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nivasesha Srinivadi Pastachade Shatardani Vanchakapaturubhyascha Kripa Sindho Vyayevya Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Om Jnanatimandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshuralmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Mostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Welcome everybody this morning on this, what can we say, another day, another opportunity. Some of you it's the evening, some of you it's the middle of the day, some of you it's the morning, some of you it's the night. Nature of Krishna consciousness is a constant flow of connection with Krishna. Whether it's morning, evening, afternoon, night, whatever it is, we're seeing at the moment in the world around us how much, let's say, fallible our situation is, and how dangerous this word is. Samasita ye padapalavapavam mahatpadam punyayashoma. At every step in this world there is danger. Even if you don't step, there is danger. On every level. And at the present moment, as you all know, I'm sure, there are, millions of people, of course, are experiencing the fear and the pain of what is termed as war. Is going on constantly in different ways, but on the physical side right now, they're experiencing that as well, of course, as internally, emotionally. But this is the situation of the world in general. It's just sometimes we see it more vividly on the surface. We've had the pandemic going on still for several years, still creating many disturbances in what people call their normal lifestyle. Many people have become accustomed to the adjustments, and the adjustments have now become somewhat normal for many. But the whole scenario, the whole situation is so unnatural for the soul. It's unnatural for human beings, in fact. Well, unnatural meaning it's not a natural situation of human growth. It's not unnatural that the human being experiences birth, death, disease, and old age, and the threefold miseries. As long as a living entity is in a human body, we will be subjected to varieties of suffering. However, what is unnatural, say, that's unfortunate, maybe more than unnatural, is there's no structure in place in order to help the living entity to really find the solution to the never-ending challenges, the never-ending fears, the never-ending anxieties, stress, and so on, which sometimes erupt in the form of pandemics or wars due to our ignorance and so on and so forth, our sinful behavior. We all know that inevitably there will be suffering in this world. Nobody can expect that not to be the case, but undue suffering is brought about excessively by sinful activities, particularly the killing of usually Prabhupada uses the word innocent animals, simply for our own sense gratification. Many other forms of behavior are accepted as basically norms in our world today by most people. Even cheating and deceit and so many things are woven into our structure of our society, practically speaking, as a part of policy almost. Not to speak of lying and illicit sexual activities and so many speculative gambling activities and intoxications of unending varieties. All this keeps the living entity bound up in this material world to experience repeated birth and death and constant suffering. So what are we going to do to try to, first of all, in our own hearts, of course, as long as our own hearts, as Advaita Charya, the expansion of the Supreme Lord, was very regretful that although he could see so much suffering and so much sinful activity going on around the world, he felt himself unable to rectify the situation. He said, I am also a sinner. Of course, Advaita Charya is not a sinner, but he's giving an example, you could say also, but he feels like that maybe. But he's giving an example to us. What can we do as long as we are still tuned in, or let's say connected in more ways than one to the causes of suffering, subtly, grossly, whatever it may be, sympathetically, and so on. And unless we are connected to Krishna, it's like if your electric wire is not connected to the electric power source, no matter what you do, it's not going to create the result that we want. We have to be connected. The connection has to be pure in order to get the full effect. So that connection with Krishna through the process of yoga, bhakti yoga, and the more we're connected, the more the energy or the purification of transcendental sound vibration of transcendental energy will begin to change the atmosphere around us. As there's no external system in place to help facilitate it, practically speaking, very little. And even in our own society, we're still way short of the mark. But at least this connection with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement through the Sankirtan, chanting of the holy names, and the glorification of the Srimad Bhagavatam and holy scriptures, and the spreading of devotional service, mass distribution of prasadam and Sankirtan Yagya, and the centers where people can come and proper wanted. Simply by coming to the centers, people's consciousness can become purified. The only solution, can we close one or two doors? Oh, just hold on a minute. There's a washing machine going strongly in the next room. We're back. We need washing machines of various kinds. The Sankirtan movement is a transcendental washing machine to cleanse everyone's hearts. This is the only solution. Whatever level we're on, it's interesting with this situation in Ukraine is worldwide concern, even amongst devotees. Of course, we have, I don't know how many thousands of devotees there are in Ukraine, but is it one of the most populated as far as devotees concerned, yatras in our movement. Beautiful 50 temples, I believe, in Ukraine, or centers, not temples, maybe all different kinds, but many temples, also farms, communities, thousands and thousands of devotees. They may have to move the deities from Kiev to a safe place if they can. Biggest temple in Europe, I believe, city temple in Europe is in Kiev. And, the devotees are obviously undergoing great tribulations there. The safety of the deities, safety of the devotees, safety of the families, and so on and so forth. And naturally, it is today actually is a day which has been requested that devotees focus on chanting. Sometimes people debate this subject, and I've debated it myself, whether we should have a specific objective, you could say, while chanting the holy names of Krishna, such as praying or chanting for the welfare of whatever, in our case, we say the devotees, but we could say everybody. And some say we shouldn't. We should just be chanting for, purification and ultimately love of God, selfless, and so on and so forth. Both have their correct positions according to our level, I would say, a level of maturity in devotional service. If the heart is pure and soft, which for most of us it probably isn't, then naturally one will feel that Vaishnava is paradukha dukhi. A Vaishnava cannot tolerate the sufferings of others. It's unbearable. Every living entity in this universe is suffering. So the devotee is actually feeling like that. We have the extraordinary example of Vasudev Dutt, one of the prominent followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, how he was so feeling so much pain for the suffering of all living entities. He wanted that the cause of their pain to be transferred to him so they could be freed of pain and be released from this material world. This is the heart of a real Vaishnava. We are probably not on that platform. Now imagine if we were in the situation like in Ukraine. If we were stuck in that situation, what would we want? We would probably want, oh, if only the mercy of the Vaishnavas, please pray for us. Probably, without the mercy of the Vaishnavas and the blessings of the Vaishnavas, we are stuck, no matter what stage we're on. So in that sense, and on top of that, we're probably not so advanced either. Our hearts are still probably a little hard. Prayers for the welfare of others, or even chanting with that intention, you could say, may be justifiable. For our own purification. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, one time he said that, well, with his Grihastha disciples, they were asking whether they should give charity to beggars. And should not everything be used in Krishna service? And said, yes, but if you don't, especially your Grihasthas, give charity to suffering people, your heart will become hard-hearted. It's already hard, it will become harder. We'll be afflicted with pride and callousness, maybe lack of compassion. It's natural. Prabhupada didn't even like to see an ant suffer, what to speak of a human being. Put the ant outside or put it in a place it won't suffer. Unnecessary, safe place. So naturally, because every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna, even if they're in total Maya, and they're ignorant of their relationship with Krishna, it is the Vaishnava's business to try to help that change of heart there. And the change of heart has to take place within our own hearts first. To change our hearts from being hard-hearted. Ultimately, yes, our chanting is simply for the pleasure of Krishna, but I doubt whether, I don't doubt, I know I'm not on that platform, for sure. So today is the day when let's say many of our senior Vaishnavas have selected for a day, because for many of you, the day is almost finished, at least Sunday is finished. But it was or is the day to try to chant. Now, what is wrong with that? Okay, we're here to try to come to Kirtaniya Siddhahari. Whatever it takes, Prabhupada used various techniques to get people to chant Hare Krishna. And the truth of the matter is, we may say, well, we're not chanting for that, but the truth of the matter is, we're probably not chanting anyway. So if something helps to inspire us to chant, what's the problem? At least it will have some purification effect, even if we're chanting a little bit, maybe in passion or ignorance, but at least the chanting is going on. It's better than no chanting. Any chanting is better than no chanting. And much of the time we're not chanting. When we look at our daily lives, we're doing other things. Of course, we have other things to do. But much of our spare time, we're also not chanting. So there's something as an impetus for chanting. Impetuses are there. But if any of you have, most of you probably do have families and children, you know how you have to give impetuses to children to do good things. So similarly, in the stage of progress in spiritual life, sometimes some little impetuses are there to get us to chant the holy name or to follow principles or to go on the Sankirtan on the street or whatever it may be, come to the class, get up in the morning. Sometimes we need a little bit of help, a little bit of encouragement. So even aside from the let's say the objective of trying to bring peace, ultimately, yes, we're also trying to bring peace, but peace in the heart, not just external peace, because the causes of suffering still remain. We want to change in a sense of the consciousness, then automatically the externals will change. People will no longer, as we know, I mean, the prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, famous prayer, maybe, I don't know if I can find it now. Someone Asikananda, you can put it on the screen. I think it's 5th canto, maybe 18th chapter, text 9 or something. Prayers of Prahlad Maharaj, that famous verse which we quoted the other days, is a real meditation of the heart of a Vaishnava. I sent it out on the internet the other day also. Real meditation of the heart of the Vaishnava. Can you do that, Rasika? Is it okay? Yeah, give it a go. So it's just a meditation, it's like Prabhupada when he was in Mayapur also. Of course, it's Mayapur, it's the holy Dham, but when Prabhupada was looking out, he saw, yeah, they got it right straight away, well done. He saw young children, young Bengali children from the villages, maybe they were Muslims, Muslim kids, they were searching through the garbage for something to eat along with the crows. Prabhupada started to cry. And he said, nobody should go hungry. Nobody. It is the right of everyone to have, in one sense, food, something to eat. And it's the duty of society to make sure they have sufficient food. And in the absence or even in the presence of that, the Vaishnavas also take that responsibility to see that prasadam is the desire of poverty. You may know the story when Narada Muni, out of great compassion, was so concerned about the oncoming Kali Yuga and about the anomalies of this age. He went to see Krishna in Dwarka. And Krishna at that time, with his consort, Rukmini was crying. When Narada came, he was very sad. Narada was very sad, and the Lord asked him why, and he said, because I'm so sad for the poor souls of this Kali Yuga, which is about to begin. What hope do they have? And then the Lord, of course, explained that in this Kali Yuga, there's a great benediction, Ekamahanguna Kirtanadeva Krishna, that he will come very soon in a golden form as Gauranga Mahaprabhu to give what no other form of the Lord was ever given before. So he told Narada Muni, spread this good news around the universe. So Narada Muni was going everywhere, all over the universe, spreading this good news. Now, when he came across Uddhava told him that the power of Mahaprasadam was so great that if one just takes, there's nothing greater than Mahaprasad. You take a little grain of that Mahaprasadam, then everything, your whole life can be transformed. So he thought, this is a parallel pastime to the one we just mentioned. They're both relevant, but this is the one we're going to tell, it's parallel. So he went then to think how I can get, because he was a worshipper of Narayan, Lord Narayan. So he went to Vaikuntha, and there he thought, how can I get the Lord's Mahaprasadam? The Lord gives all of his Maha to Lakshmi Devi. I will serve Lakshmi Devi meaningly. And he served him for, you can't measure time in Vaikuntha, but he served him for seemingly inconceivable length of time. Served her. And eventually, Lakshmi Devi said, please ask me for something. You served me so nicely. Please ask me for something. What do you require? Anything. Ask for any boon, blessing, whatever you wish. And Srila Narada Muni said, Dear Devi, I only request one thing. Dear mother in his case, of course, Devi. Dear mother, I only request one thing. Yes, ask me what you want. Please, I simply want the Mahaprasad remnants of Lord Narayan. And Parvati was taken aback. Oh no. Ask for something else, please, not that one. Actually, Lord told Lakshmi to never give his remnants at that time to anyone else. Whatever you do, don't give them to anyone else. So she was really stuck. You have to be careful when you say to someone, please ask me whatever you want, is a lesson. sometimes someone asks something which we can't give and we feel really kind of like uncomfortable. Please give me love of God, okay? And we have to have it to give it. We can direct people towards Prabhupada books or something, but we should also realize that we really have to make that work ourselves to develop or connect ourselves with Krishna in loving exchange. So Parvati was in a dilemma. She said, okay, well, just give me some time, please. I have to try to work this one out. This is a real problem, big one. We may think we've got big problems, but this is, it may not look like a big problem to us, but this is a maha problem. It doesn't sound like it. I mean, the spiritual problems are also transcendental exchanges of ecstasy in one sense, but it appears otherwise. So she was in great anxiety. So, and Lord Shiva noticed his consort was looking a bit down, a bit anxious. So he said, Devi, what's the problem is there? She said, my Lord, it's very hard for me to explain this. Please forgive me. And what is it? Tell me. Well, I promised you that I would never give my Maha remnants to anyone. Yes. So what's the problem? Well, it's very difficult. Lord Narada Muni served me so faithfully for so long. I said, you ask anything you like. And oh, my Lord, he asked for your remnants. I don't know what to do. Oh, Devi, you should know better. Be careful when you do these type of things. Never do this again. Say anything you like. Okay, in this case, you may give him some of my remnants, but never again, okay? Never again. Yes, my Lord. So Parvati, sorry, I'm jumbling up. I'm maybe a little bit tired. Lord Narayan said to Lakshmi Devi, I hope you got that. Lord Narayan said to Lakshmi, never do it again. Never. Ever give those remnants again. So Narada Muni, eagerly awaiting Lakshmi Devi, who came back and gave remnants of Lord Narayan's prasadam to Narada Muni. Narada Muni was in ecstasy to receive those remnants. On honoring those remnants, he went into an ecstasy he'd never experienced before. The highest bliss, dancing like a madman in ecstasy. He then went to Kailash, and there he saw Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva, of course, in one sense, at least in this universe, they're brothers. So he saw Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva said, my dear brother, you're in so much ecstasy. What has happened? Tell me. Oh, my dear brother, you cannot believe what good fortune has come upon me. Tell me, quickly tell me. I want to know. It's like when you see somebody really happy and ecstatic, you may want to know what's going on here. I would like to be like that too. Tell me, what is it? So Narada Muni said, oh, my dear brother, today I've got the fulfillment of all my desires. I've received the Mahaprasadam of Lord Narayan. Wonderful, said Lord Shiva. So please, give me some of those remnants. Narada Muni looked around. Oh no. Oh dear. You know what it's like when you get such wonderful prasadam. I mean, it's impossible. It's impossible. You can't stop taking it. It's just irresistible. I've eaten it all. What? You've eaten it all? You didn't save any for me? No. And then he looked in his bag. Oh, there's a little bit left. Give me quickly. He gave it to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva went into mad ecstasy. taking that grain of Mahaprasadam. He was dancing like the whole universe began to rock and shake. Everyone thought that Lord Shiva was about to destroy the universe. His Tandavi dance, he was rocking, the planets were rocking, the demigods were falling out of their airplanes, out of their planets. Everyone was stunned. It was like a universal earthquake going on here. They quickly ran to Parvati, said, Parvati, your Pati is going to destroy the universe. Please do something quickly. Parvati didn't know what was going on. She knew nothing what was happening. She ran to Lord Shiva. She ran to her Patis and shouted, oh, my Lord, please stop. She shouted loudly. Lord Shiva shook out of his ecstasy, looking at Parvati. What have you done? Oh, my Lord, you are, whatever it is, I don't know what's happening. But you're about to destroy the universe. Said, oh, I was in such ecstasy and you've interfered with my ecstasy. She begged him for forgiveness, explaining the destructive effects on the universe. And then he said, all right then, but never do that again when I'm in such ecstasy. And then she said, my Lord, what is the cause of your ecstasy? And he said, oh, Devi. Oh, you've still got that verse on the screen. I forgot about that. Okay. He said, oh, Devi, you cannot understand. What is the cause of my ecstasy? Tell me, please. All right, then. I've just taken a grain of Lord Narayan's Mahaprasadam. He said, Lord Narayan's Mahaprasadam. Oh, please give me some. And he said, Devi, you are not eligible to receive this Mahaprasad. She was furious. But I am half of your body. I am half of your body. I am also Vaishnavi. How can you say like this? Now I know that your love for me is all pretense, she shouted. Angry, fuming, she assumed her destructive form of, what's it called? Adi Lakshmi, no, Adi, anyway, a destructive form with many arms. And she was in a rage. If I am not eligible to receive this Mahaprasadam, I vow that this whole universe will be destroyed. If the Lord's Mahaprasadam must be distributed to every living entity, even the dogs, the jackals, the lowest of creatures, everyone must receive the Lord's Maha, otherwise I would destroy the universe. She was in a rage, Adi Shakti. She was about to destroy the universe. No one could do anything. They thought Lord Shiva was bad enough, but she was even worse, as she was in a rage of anger. How can you say that I am not eligible to receive the Lord's Maha? Everyone should be eligible. She was roaring. Lord Shiva could do nothing. And Lord Narayan, seeing the great dilemma, this was even worse than the previous one, and Lord, there was no choice. Lord Narayan had to appear on the scene. Devi, calm down. Oh, Devi, excuse me. Parvati, calm down. Calm down, mother, calm down. But then the Lord said, I promise you that I will fulfill your words. I will appear to make sure that every living entity gets the opportunity to receive your Mahaprasadam. So in this way, the Lord appeared in the form of Jagannath. And as Jagannath, his business is to see, one of the purposes, that every living entity is eligible and receives the Lord's Mahaprasad. This is our mission. It's the grace also of Lord Parvati, Lord Shiva, that we're able to do this. So it's a major part of our movement. And believe it or not, as many of you know, in London, there's a devotee named Parashuram, and he distributes prasadam like nobody does. He's got kitchens all over the place, distributing prasadam by the tens of thousands of plates, sometimes daily, in London and other places. Wherever he goes, it's massive prasad distribution. He has now flown or gone somewhere. I don't know about flying. Maybe he's flown to Hungary and he's crossing the border or across the border into Ukraine to show the devotees how to do mass prasad distribution, which hopefully, by the grace of the Lord, will have a credible effect on the consciousness of the people. Prasad distribution is so very, very, very important. Wherever we go, as Prabhupada was crying for the starving kids in Mayapur, he said that no one should go hungry within 10 kilometers of the temple. We should have temples in every home. So that means everywhere. No one should go hungry. Everyone should have the opportunity to receive Mahaprasadam or Prasadam of the Lord, offered sanctified foodstuffs to sanctify the hearts of all the conditioned souls, not just humans, but especially humans, even the animals and the dogs. Prabhupada used to throw his remnants to the dogs in Vrindavan quite frequently. You know, it's their business. We receive something. It's like if you are on the battlefield, say I don't know what type of wars are going on there, but say there's a confrontational exchange going on, war, and soldiers are being injured, and you are a doctor and you don't utilize your knowledge to help those people, you're considered to be a criminal, practically speaking. So similarly, we have this medicine. We may not be cured ourselves, but we do have the medicine. And the process of self-purification is to distribute that medicine to others. This is the business of a Vaishnava. Lord Chaitanya has given this order to all living entities, not just those Bhadrata Bhumite Hula Manusya Janmajara, those born in India, but he's given this order to all living entities to spread this knowledge of Krishna consciousness everywhere, to every living entity, every town, every village. Everyone needs. This is the war on want. This is what's really lacking, as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj said. There is nothing lacking in this world except for Krishna consciousness. This is the only thing lacking. And it's our opportunity. What a great privilege, what a great opportunity this is, to be an instrument to spread Krishna consciousness. This is the greatest service that one can do. Why? Because it's that given to us by the greatest servant, Srila Prabhupada. To serve the great is the greatest. We are Gopi Bharta Padakamalam, Dasa, 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 Anudasa. Our whole life is to become the servant of the servant, 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 servant. I remember seeing Srila Prabhupada in Heathrow Airport one time where quite a lot of devotees that time went. I don't think it was 74, I can't remember exactly. I think it was 5, I can't remember about that time. Prabhupada was leaving Heathrow in London to fly somewhere, and his flight was delayed. And we were sitting, the devotees were sitting around Prabhupada in what they have called a mezzanine floor, overlooking the departure lounge. No, not the departure lounge, the check-in area, I think it was, maybe one of the other, I can't remember. But anyway, it was a mezzanine floor. And you could see there was like a glass kind of partition there. You could see down to all the people below, running left, right, and center, busy. Some of them running, some in anxiety, all kinds of things going on. And I watched Prabhupada was looking down at all the people and he started to cry. What exactly the reason for Prabhupada's crying was? I only speculated, to be honest. That Prabhupada was seeing the unfortunate situation of all the living entities rushing as if they've got something important to do, and all they're doing is rushing to their own suffering, rushing into a situation to cause their own misery. And how this is painful to Srila Prabhupada and the genuine devotees. That is why they come into this world. Although you could say it's, who wants to enter into a nightmare? But they come into this situation in order to try to help release us from this nightmare situation. You get used to a nightmare, by the way, after a while. It becomes a norm. Because even hell, Prabhupada said, you get used to it. Maya makes it seem like this is a norm, and it's not as bad as what we hear it from our perspective. Believe me, or believe the scriptures, that the demigods, when they would look at the type of life that we're leading on this planet, they would vomit. It's so miserable, horrible life. How can they live like this? Living in pigeonholes, filthy, dirty, noisy, struggling, working, suffering from pandemics, this, that, the other, having to forced to go to school, forced to work in horrible situations sometimes, surrounded by, all kinds of and different things, some of them not so nice, struggling like this is unbearable for someone who's in the heavenly planets. It's like hell. So when we look down on what we hear about hell, it's like, oh my God. But if you're actually in that type of scenario, it's a norm. And it's a relative norm. It's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine what an ant is thinking or a mosquito. For them, it's a norm, completely norm, the type of life they live. That's where the material world is completely relative. Time is another aspect. Duration of time is a relative feature. So devotee, one who has a little bit of, a little bit of awareness, if we want to progress in spiritual life, if we want to actually please the Lord, there's no other choice. We have to share what we've got. Whether it's deity worship, one time in London, this was almost certainly 75, because I was treasurer at that time. 75 when Prabhupada was in London, and he visited London one time, and at 75, that is, and he, in the middle of the afternoon, I was very quick at accounts and stuff. I'd finished the service real quick. And I came down to the temple in the afternoon to chant japa, and I was chanting japa, extra rounds in the temple that afternoon. And it's 4 o'clock, 4:15. Suddenly the door at the back of the manor, Bhaktivedanta manor, opened, and had a shop. There was only myself and one other guest, a guest devotee. Later on became initiated. In the temple room, and Prabhupada had entered into the temple room from the back door of the manor, along with one assistant who was not his servant, one of our local devotees followed him in. And Prabhupada walked into the temple room, and immediately as all Prabhupada bowed down, offered obeisances, and the guest offered obeisances, and Prabhupada himself stopped and looked. And he saw that the guests had offered their obeisances with their feet towards the deity. They face towards Prabhupada, but feet towards the deity. And Prabhupada said, he didn't say anything to the guest, didn't even say anything to me at that time. Maybe he didn't see me, I don't know. But he said, where's the pujari? Of all things, well, unusual, you could say unusual statement. He said, where's the pujari? And there was a pujari. She was behind the curtain and on the side. The curtains were open, but there was another curtain, which was the paraphernalia room where they washed the plates. She was behind there washing the dishes because the fruit offering had just been made, the arti had just been finished, and she was washing the plates. So Prabhupada said, where's the pujari? She came out behind the curtain in front of Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, you are the pujari? She said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, what are you doing? She said, Prabhupada, I'm washing Krishna's plates. And Prabhupada repeated, said, no, what are you doing? She didn't know what to say. I'm sure none of us would know what to say. This is like a mystical question. I've got no idea what I'm supposed to say. I'm washing the dishes. And Prabhupada said, no, what are you doing? Then Prabhupada explained. He said, you are the pujari, and there is a guest in the temple, and you're not teaching the guest how to offer their obeisances properly in the temple room. This is your responsibility. We never think of it like that, do we? That our duty is to help people to progress in their spiritual lives, no matter who they are. Time, place, and circumstance, it may not always be the case. But Prabhupada was teaching that that's the pujara's duty, not just to wash dishes and offer arti, is to actually preach by various means to everyone who comes to the temple. I remember one time in many marathons, especially in Bombay in those days, the pujari in Bombay would be the world's #1 book distributor, and he wouldn't leave the altar all day long. He would sit there with piles and piles of books, and every time anyone gave a donation, he would be giving them a book. It's a very good way for a pujari to distribute books, you could say. Of course, they had so many devotees. In most of our temples, we don't have any devotees to even think about doing that. Maybe we do, I don't know. Certainly don't have that here, but it's, nobody comes anyway. We're in the middle of the countryside here, but in a city temple like Bombay, where there's 10,000 people a day come into the temple, it's a great field for preaching. I'm teaching people how to bow down, how to sing, how to clap, how to dance, how to pay respect, how to dress. Everything is there for their spiritual advancement. Nectar Devotion gives so many guidelines, especially for the pujaris, but for every devotee. It's got to be done in a loving way, not in like a clout, like an enforced way, but in a way which is attractive, in a way which is, the way Prabhupada would do. With his disciples, he may have been sort of strict, you could say, but with the public, he was, depending on who they were also, but he was often very, very sweet, very kind. Like I was reading letters yesterday, Prabhupada's letters to Sally Agarwal. How sweet Prabhupada's letter was. I mean, letters, not 3 or 4 letters Prabhupada wrote to her when he was in New York. And addressing her, I am like your old baby. You're my mother. You are so kind. Please let me know all the time how your son is. How is you? I'm very happy to hear that your son is now walking. I'm very happy to hear that you went to see your mother and father. They are noble people. Prabhupada was saying they're very noble. Please send them my best wishes, and please send my love to your children. And I'm happy to hear that your son is 3 years old, has just had his 3rd birthday. I would love to send him a present, but as a sannyasi, I can only give blessings to your son. Prabhupada was relating like this to a person who's eating meat and doing other things, this knows what. But Prabhupada showed so much loving exchange with Sally Agarwal, who helped accommodate Prabhupada when he arrived in Butler, Pennsylvania. Prabhupada was so, you see a person as a person, as Krishna's servant, not just as a karmi or, a sinful person or dog or whatever. Our brain, we think inside us sometimes our demons is, but Prabhupada was seeing differently. He would act accordingly, of course, but inside he was seeing like this. How this person can wake up, no matter who they are. Prabhupada's compassion was absolute. We can only try to follow in his footsteps. We can't imitate that compassion. We can't imitate it, but at least we can try to express it for devotees. So let us all pray for the welfare. Put that verse back on, please. Pray for the welfare of all living entities, and particularly, of course, for those who are trying to sacrifice their lives in the service of Krishna, that their spiritual lives will be not only protected, will be enhanced. The real protection a devotee prays for is, at least for the devotees, is that the Lord protect us, that we not become doubtful, that we not become covered by illusion, that not become captivated by Maya, etc. The protection that we not offend other Vaisnavas, the protection that we not become overwhelmed with pride, envy, greed, lust, anger, and so on. These are our enemies, not the Russian army or whatever it is. This is not our enemy. They're not our enemies. They're living entities who are driven by the modes of nature according to their karma. But the real protection is within the heart. Protect us that we not become, greedy and selfish. Here's the verse. Let's chant together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Svastyastu Vishvasya Kalapasidatam. All together. Svastyastu Vishvasya Kalapasidatam. Dhyayantu Bhutani Shivam Mito Diya. Dhyayantu Bhutani Shivam Mito Diya. Manascha Bhadrang Bhajatadadhokshaje. Manascha Bhadrang Bhajatadadhokshaje. Aveshatang no matir apyahoituki. Aveshatang no matir apyahoituki. And we can move on. We won't do the word for word, just straight to the verse, please. This is a verse or prayer given by Prahlad Maharaj. Prayers for the residents of Jambudweep. He lives on Harivarsh, and he's the leader of the devotees there. And on behalf of the devotees, he's making his prayers to the Lord. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga, for by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of him. We can touch the purport a little bit, but just see the heart of Prahlad Maharaj. He appeared, as we know, as Haridas Thakur, and in various other forms. He appears, is the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, which appears. That same mood we see in the presence of all devotees, whether it's Jesus Christ, Haridas Thakur, Srila Prabhupada. Their compassion for the living entities is there. It never stops, even if they're put into very, very difficult situations by those that they're trying to help. Sometimes when you try to help a crazy person, they turn on you. They actually try to attack you sometimes. Even a doctor can attest to that sometimes a patient is so in difficult situation, or they look crazy or whatever it is, and madness, that they actually try to fight with the doctors sometimes, struggle against the doctor's help. So similarly, we see in the course of history how this is a common phenomenon. Person's trying to help somebody spiritually, and they actually become aggressive towards their savior. And we're all somewhat in that mood. We're all, because we're engaged in activities which are not really pleasing to the Lord, even though we've been given the mercy by the pure devotees of the Lord to live a life, pure life. We still, like say, sometimes take undue advantage of that situation and misbehave and justify our activities sometimes in various ways. But anyway, back to this verse, the purport is very wonderful. We found the very famous verse which we chant, but we should meditate on the meaning of this verse. And Prabhupada says, just like a desire tree, a Vaishnava can fulfill all the desires of anyone who takes shelter of his lotus feet. We have to give that shelter. Take that shelter and give it. Don't be a miser. Prabhupada said a similar thing to Jamuna Devi, who was one of Prabhupada's most intimate servants, surrendered soul at Prabhupada's lotus feet, dedicated her life to pleasing Prabhupada. And she was also, of course, and is still most famous for her wonderful service of cooking, wonderful preparations for the Lord's pleasure. And she's very famous for her cooking. And Prabhupada one time said to her, "Are you teaching this art to the other girls?" And at that time she said she wasn't. Prabhupada said, "You must teach what you've got. You must give what you've got. If you don't give what you got, you may become envious. Because you become, hard to understand. Envy is more than just some definable aspect in terms of, I'm envious of this person because they've got something I haven't got. The other way around, when you've got something, you don't give it to others. We normally call it miserly, but that also is related, becomes develop envy of others. You think we've got something. And, we have to share what we've got, whatever it may be. Even for Brahmins, they don't keep their money. They immediately use it in beneficial ways, performing sacrifices, preparing large quantities of foodstuffs, offering it to Krishna and distributing to everyone. Whenever we go on the street, it's a good idea to carry some prasad with us. An apple, maybe not practical to carry apples, but some cookie or something. Always have prasadam ready. Be prepared. Krishna will send someone along, and there is our opportunity to give Krishna's mercy to that person, even though they may be a drunkard, a crazy guy, beggar. Give them some prasad and see it. Something realistic, not like a fruit salad or sweet rice or something, but something they can relate with and something they can take. Sweet, something they can relate with, or some fruits or something. People are suffering, whatever it is, even if they are professional beggars, they're still asking. We should never say no. We should always try to be prepared. Books should always be with us. Prasadam should always be with us. The holy name is always there. So like that, Prahlad Maharaj is a typical example of a Vaishnava, Prabhupada says. He prays not for himself, but for all living entities, the gentle, the envious, and the mischievous. He always thought of the welfare of mischievous persons like his father, Hiranyakashipu. Prahlad Maharaj did not ask for anything for himself. Rather, he prayed for the Lord to excuse his demoniac father. This is the attitude of a Vaishnava, who always thinks of the welfare of the entire universe. Srimad Bhagavatam, we can just understand we have a little way to go to become a Vaishnava. Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Dharma are meant for persons who are completely free of envy. And we have to ask ourselves, are we completely free of envy? One time, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj was with some of his disciples, and they asked, should we use anger against those who are envious of the Lord, Gurudev? Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, yes, we should. We hear these statements, right? He said, first of all, we have to look and see who is envious of the Lord. And when I look at my own heart, I find no one more envious than myself. So to whom should I use anger? Interesting. How we use anger on ourselves is another thing, not out of frustration and kind of like, condemnation. We have to use it in a way as itself. As he said, beat your mind 100 times or whatever at night, stick, and 100 times with a shoe in the morning, like this. Wake ourselves up, get together. In the previous verse to this, Om Namo Bhagavate Narashinga Namaste Tejas Vira Vibhava Vajranaka, and so on. Prahlad Maharaj is praying that you please are sitting in my heart. Please remove all of this envy from my heart, all this dirt from my heart. Then we can start thinking of the real welfare of others. And so we have to cleanse our own heart. Paramanimatsaranam. Then we can enter into Bhagavantam. The more we purify our heart. The whole process is one of purification, especially distributing the holy name, distributing books, distributing prasadam, giving people the opportunity to connect with Krishna. This is their life's purpose. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays in this verse, Kala Pasidatam. May all the envious persons be pacified. The material world is full of envious persons. But if one frees himself of envy, he becomes liberal in his social dealings, and can think of others' welfare. We're not so advanced, and how we behave, how we react to people is, for them, is more important than what we say. Our respect for others, even showing mundane kindness sometimes, helping a poor person across the road, helping a person who's struggling with their bag to pick it up, giving way to people on the zebra crossings, all these things enter into the heart of the soul. A Vaishnava should be a gentleman. We're representatives of Prabhupada. We're not some fanatics. We're here to, serve the will of the Lord. Everyone is his part and parcel, and the Lord is crying for the suffering of the conditioned souls. Anyone who takes up Krishna consciousness and engages himself completely in the service of the Lord cleanses his mind of all envy. Manascha badram bhajatada hokshaje. Therefore, we should pray to Lord Nrsingadev to sit in our hearts. We should pray, Bahir Nrsimha, Hridaye Nrsimha. Let Lord Nrsingadev sit in the core of my heart, killing all my bad propensities. Let my mind become clean so that I may peacefully worship the Lord and bring peace to the entire world. Yes, within and without. We have to start within ourselves, but don't think it's going to be within everyone else. It's got to be seen without also. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given us a very fine purport in this regard. Whenever one offers a prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one always requests some benediction from him. Even pure Nishkama devotees pray for some benediction, as instructed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sixth Shastakam. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam buddho kripaya tavapada pankaja stita tuli sadrishang vichintaya. Lord Chaitanya prayed, O son of Maharaja Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servant, yet somehow or another I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from the ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. In another prayer, Lord Chaitanya says, Mama janmani janmani share bhavatad bhakta tad abhaktir haitaki tvai. Life after life, kindly let me have unalloyed love and devotion at your Lordship's lotus feet. The Lord saying, he's not even thinking of liberation. He's not thinking of going back to Godhead. Prabhupada said, a Vaishnava, real one. We're not on that level. We need to have goals, objective goals. But a pure Vaishnava simply wants to stay life after life. Whatever you do to me, Lord, I do not mind. I just want to serve you. I just want to please you. I just want to give this mercy to others. Where do we get? Yeah. When Prahlad Maharaj chants, Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya, he prays for a benediction from the Lord, but because he is also an exalted Vaishnava, he wants nothing for his personal sense gratification. The first desire expressed in his prayer is Svastu Vishvasya. Let there be good fortune throughout the entire universe. The entire universe. One of my favorite Sankirtan statements, I can't remember really originally where it's from, it slipped my mind, but it's quoted in the Hari Bhakti Sudadaya. It's in one of the Puranas, I believe. A verse which states, when the devotees dance and chant the holy name, when they're glancing, when they look around, they purify everyone on this level, on this plane, by their glancing. And by their dancing, the feet pounding on the ground purifies everyone in the lower planets. And when they raise their arms in the air, it purifies everyone in the upper planets. Such as the Sankirtan of the pure devotees of the Lord. Of course, this is referred to some degree, it's there on every level, but for a pure devotee, it's complete. He prays for benediction. According to Chanakya, where am I? Prahlad Maharaj thus requested the Lord to be merciful to everyone, including his father, a most envious person. Wouldn't it be amazing if we were freed of envy? which means we have no anger towards anyone. We have no ill feelings. Bhaktisiddhanta would pray that every member of the Gaudiya Math should think nothing other than the best, greatest well wishes for their biggest enemy. Like that he prayed, your greatest enemy. You should think only for the best welfare for your worst enemy. Is that every member of the Gaudiya Math should be willing to shed 200 gallons of blood for the spiritual corpus of every single living entity. Of course, physically, that's not practical. It means we have to give our life and soul for this mission of spreading Krishna consciousness. Only then are we actually situated in the liberated state or the transcendental state. Otherwise, we're still attached to this world, thinking something is mine. We don't have anything. We only have mercy. If we don't distribute that mercy, we'll lose it. It won't be lost entirely, but it comes covered over by, unnatural consciousness, self-centered consciousness. According to Chanakya Pandit, there are two kinds of envious living entities. One is a snake. The other is a man like Hiranyakashipu, who is by nature envious of everyone, even of his father or son. Hiranyakashipu was envious of his little son Prahlad, but Prahlad Maharaj asked a benediction for the benefit of his father. Hiranyakashipu was very envious of devotees, but Prahlad wished that his father and other demons like him would give up their envious nature by the grace of the Lord and stop harassing the devotees. Kala pasidatam. The difficulty is that the kala, envious living entity, is rarely pacified. One kind of kala, the snake, can be pacified simply by mantras or by the action of a particular herb. Mantroshadi vasaksarpa kalakena nivaryate. An envious person, however, cannot be pacified by any means. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays that all envious persons may undergo a change of heart and think of the welfare of others. All envious people may undergo a change of heart and think of the welfare of others. If the Krishna consciousness movement spreads all over the world, and if by the grace of Krishna everyone accepts it, the thinking of envious people will change. Everyone will think of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays, Shivam Mitodiya. In material activities, everyone is envious of others. But in Krishna consciousness, no one is envious of anyone else. Everyone's mind, everyone thinks of the welfare of others. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj prays that everyone's mind may become gentle by being fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna, Bhajatada Hokshage, as indicated elsewhere in Srimad Bhagavatam. Savaye Mana Krishna Padaravindayo, as advised by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana Bhavavad Bhakto. One should constantly think of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Then one's mind will certainly be cleansed. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Materialists always think of sense gratification. But Prahlad Maharaj prays that the Lord's mercy would change their minds and they will stop thinking of sense gratification. If they think of Krishna always, everything will be all right. Some people argue that if everyone thought of Krishna in that way, the whole universe would be vacated because everyone will go back home, back to Godhead. However, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that this is impossible because the living entities are innumerable. If one set of living entities is actually delivered by the Krishna conscious movement, another set will fill the entire universe. There you go. Hare Krishna. So this is a wonderful, I could say, opportunity we have. When through extremely, you could say, challenging or extraordinary situations like we're faced with right now, Critical situations are there. And this is a warning, it's a wake-up call to all of us. Jeev Jago, wake up, sleeping souls. You are sleeping in the lap of the witch called Maya. Wake up, struggling in this world, toiling fruitlessly. For what reason? Lord Chaitanya has brought us the medicine. Enechi Usharimayo Nashibaro Lagi. The Harinama Mahamantra Lo Tumi Magi. He's brought the medicine to cure the disease of material birth and death, Baba Rog. Cure that disease. And we have, by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, at least we have medicine. We may not be so advanced, but we're carriers. It's like if you're delivering the medicine to someone on behalf of the doctor, you don't change it. The part is very important. You're delivering the medicine. You go to the doctor, he writes a prescription. Then you go to the pharmacist, and the pharmacist simply makes up the prescription. He's not the one who's given the prescription. He just simply fulfills it. So the process is prescribed by Lord Chaitanya and his pure devotees, followers. And we're just given that all we have to do is follow the prescription. Not complicated, and the medicine will work. We have to take it ourselves first. Physician, we're not physicians, maybe, we're servants of the physician. You cure thyself, heal thyself, and then distribute to us. What can we do if we're crippled? What can we do if we're still diseased? Not much. We can pray. If we really want to help each other, we have to cleanse our own hearts. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So today and every day, let us be in this mood of compassion. Let us try to cultivate this mood of compassion by serving those who are manifesting that compassion. It's not an artificial thing, but at least we can follow in their footsteps and act in a compassionate way under their guidance and protection, praying for everyone's welfare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. So any questions, please, you can put on the chat if you wish, or if you're on Facebook. I don't know how it works on Facebook. Maybe you can send a message to the facilitator or something. Okay, from Matus. I just go and chat to him. You mentioned that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta told his disciples they should give donations to beggars, otherwise their hearts will become hard. What if the beggars use the money? He didn't say you had to give money. I emphasized this during the course of the talk. In this Kali Yuga, the process of charity is not to give money for the Vaisnavas, to give prasadam. You give prasadam. This is how we do it. Of course, sometimes when you're in the holy dham, like Radhakund, Shamakund, sometimes they're all sadhus and sadhvis living there. You may give some money. But in general, the process is to give prasadam. We have to give something. We try to give something to everyone, and someone's actually coming and asking. I mean, when you go on Sankirtan, how many people come up to you and ask for a book? Not many. Not many. But these are beggars coming and ask you. They're not asking for the book, usually. They're asking for something. They want something of material use to them. And most of them will accept prasadam. I don't say they all don't accept, but most of them do. And they're coming up to us to ask, so we should be prepared. We should never turn away someone who's asking. Of course, there are sometimes, common sense has to be used there in that sense. In general, that's the principle, especially if there's a beggar asking for something. It doesn't matter who they are. If you give them prasadam, you're preaching. Even if they're not a beggar, they're just, cheating. But still, we should try to give prasadam. Jason, nice to see you, Jason, Prabhu, after a long time. We look forward to seeing you person to person soon. We'll have a Zoom talk as soon as you arrange it with Matos if you can, some timing. How is the best way right now to help the devotees in Ukraine? Very good question. Well, there is, of course, different situations in Ukraine. Most of the devotees may be staying in Ukraine. Many of the devotees are leaving Ukraine, women and children, for their own protection, or they have no shelter left anyway, whatever it is. Many of them have come into Poland and Hungary and other countries in Europe. And there's throughout the whole of our European movement, and we're opening up doors to receive as many as possible devotees so we can serve them at this difficult time, literally, ladies with children, whatever it is, elderly people. Opening up your door to give facilities to the devotees, if needs be, is one practical thing. Practically speaking, of course, kirtan is the program is to try to perform as much kirtan as we can. Now that purifies the consciousness. Iti shoda shakam nam nam kalmakasha kausha. That verse is famous verse that chanting of the holy names removes all of the ill effects of Kali Yuga. It purifies the consciousness of the whole world. It creates an auspicious atmosphere. So chanting the holy names of the Lord and prayer for the protection of the devotees. We just usually find out what other things you can do. If there is anything, I don't know if monetary needs are there, I don't know. But opening up our doors, praying, and trying to become more sincere in our devotional service. Because the more we become purified, the more it benefits all living entities, no matter who they are, especially the devotees of the Lord. And prayer. I will go with 2 Ukrainian friends, Parish. Wow. From our fearless Parashuram Prabhu. Here's someone, I don't know who it is, but someone has put this in here. I will go with 2 Ukrainian friends who have worked with me for the last 15 years. They have UK passports, so we can get in and out from Poland to Livry is the first city in Ukraine. It's just across the border there. I will take big pots, very visual, gas, festival, cookers, bogus, spices, PPE, whatever that is, water hose, etc. Can't buy anything serious in Ukraine. Everything is rationed. We buy in bulk in Poland and drive it in. We train up the local volunteers, and after 10 days, I will return to the UK and keep the team going by email. Jai. This is Parashuram. Fearless. Yeah, I wish we had a drop of his spirit of sacrifice. Undergo sacrifice. This is his spirit, okay? But I don't know. Maybe not practical to say, I'm going there right now, I'm going to join Parashuram. If you're that serious, yes. But at least wherever you are, we can do the same thing. We can try to develop this mood of sacrifice and surrendered mood. Okay. Anything else? I don't know what to do. That message seems to be okay. That was from Matos. Thank you. Yeah. You mentioned meditation during chanting. I don't know if I can't remember if I did. I guess I must have done. My question is, how can we get more into meditation about others and focus on helping others? How can we stay focused on the fact that people need the Krishna consciousness, even when they act like they don't need, talking about book distribution? Association with those who have, let's say, when we say meditation, I would say just meditation in this regard is just an effect of having awoken compassion. That the thoughts of how to spread this movement will be a natural thing. You read, study the mood of Srila Prabhupada, the mood of the great Vaisnavas, study the Bhagavatam, full of compassionate inter-exchanges, Chaitanya Chapter, all the books are full of this. It's not, although mundane compassion is not objective of talk, of course, in fact, it's condemned in Bhagavad Gita, is also indicated for Arjuna, it's not the highest point, and it's not the highest point for anyone. But at a certain stage, even that is recommended. If you can't work for me, then at least give up your fruits of work or do some welfare activity or something, Krishna says. Something's better than nothing, even if it's not spiritual. So devotees, and we see like Prithu Maharaj, who is an empowered incarnation of Godhead, was performing innumerable karma kandya activities. Not that he needed or even wanted, he was doing it for the sake of others so that they would do it properly for their gradual advancement in Krishna consciousness. Spiritual life doesn't suddenly open up in most people's cases. It's a gradual stage of step by step. And the devotees' business is to try to help people to accelerate that, not to condemn religions or condemn which can be picked up from the pure devotees of the Lord, from Shastra, from prayer, from association, and from practically doing it. Probably the most effective means is to practically do it. And, and then maybe in the beginning, one's prayers are a little bit motivated by results, etc., but gradually one becomes purified, gradually, and realizes what suffering means. It's not just breaking legs and suffering from coronavirus or something. Suffering because we are separated from Krishna. And lack of Krishna consciousness, this is the suffering, because we're bereft of the association of the Lord. I heard your servant. How do we speed up purifying our hearts? Or how do we speed up a car? We have to put it into a higher gear. Get into a higher gear. How do we get into a higher gear? You have to make the effort, I guess. Pray for it. Pray, that we may become sincere. Chant. Don't waste time. Well, we all know, the various anarthas which we're still attached to. You have to ask your own heart. Say no to those. Pray for the Lord, Om Namo Bhagavate Narsinga, they may be removed. And serve the Vaisnavas, serve the devotees. Try to put aside all these petty, stupid little things that occupy our minds sometimes. Try to fill it with positivity and Krishna consciousness, hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, so on and so forth. But by association is usually the way that things speed up. Association means many things. It can be internal also, and we start to associate with the instructions of our spiritual master more and more, or the Shastric statements, or we literally read the Bhagavatam. This is also all association. Or we avoid the association of Satsanga Tyagi Vaishnavachar as the Satsanga, the association of those who are non-devotees. That doesn't mean we don't preach. We preach more, but we don't enter into their association. Try to avoid things which are detrimental. Read the nectar of instruction with that which is favorable, with that which is unfavorable. Try to follow those principles more and more and more. Become serious. Food for life. I have no idea what. Okay. Here's another way you can help. Thank you, Jason. I guess that's. I think it's some information regarding the bank account for Food for Life. I guess it's in London. I only know what I see. Here it says. So maybe a donation to Parashram to his account in Camden. That's what it is. I have the IBAN somewhere. I will share. Maybe that's the IBAN. So yes, this is another way you can fund the active. Very good point. Fund the activity itself so that they can distribute more prasadam. That's what the people. You probably, maybe after a while, philosophy books and this and that. It's not the time to go on book distribution. Probably in Ukraine, I don't know, but it's certainly the time to distribute prasadam. That's for sure. People may not understand even the Harinam on the streets. They won't know what you're doing. Their only thought is how to protect themselves, how to find something to eat, how to survive from the attacks, how to get out of there, different things like that, on their minds, how to fill their bellies, how to live, basically, how to survive. Basically, that's their meditation right now. You can speed up the process. Is a good example. Prabhupada says we're like in a train. We may not be very fast, but if you join up to a fast train, then you can move fast. So we have to join up with someone who's connect with someone who is making fast progress or is more advanced than we are. That's the process. We have to link up with the parampara disciplic succession. We see people oftentimes on a bicycle or something, and they grab hold of a truck which is going on the road. They follow behind. I've seen it, these things, especially in India. But yeah, you have to connect with somebody who is going at a higher speed. If you want to go faster, you've got to make sure you're ready for it. Otherwise you may fall over. Are we willing? Are we ready? The will has to be there. And Krishna will provide the means. Okay. Hare Krishna. It is helpful to support temples in Poland, Slovakia, and Hungary that are close to the border with Ukraine. Very good. Indeed, these are wonderful points. Thank you for expanding on this. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know Hungary for sure is very much helping or doing everything they can to feed devotees. I don't know that just devotees, people coming across the border also giving them prasadam, etc. I don't have any contact to literally help with that one. That maybe somebody does. Hold on, I haven't finished the previous one yet. In Poland, yeah, and Hungary. So it'd be good if someone could find out where the contacts are there, and if they require or need them, please help out, because this is preaching. What is money for? Money is only for the service of Krishna. It has no other value. It's only for helping the preaching of Krishna consciousness. And another message here, what to do when we are slow. Okay, this is another point. What to do when we are slowly becoming lazy, as well as when we find out that we have so many anarthas and the mind keeps on spinning around on the same point. Because of that, our smarana and kirtan gets reduced. Please help, my God. Slow ones are more difficult, imperceptibly, it slowly creeps up on us. When it happens fast, it's a bit more vivid. So maybe it's better when it happens fast. At least we can see it, that it's a quick, sudden thing. And well, Krishna is there. We're not just on a battlefield on our own. Krishna is with us, and he can see these things going on, and it's not by chance. He plays his part as well, pointed out, you're already recognizing it, so that's a good start. Sometimes we don't even recognize it. So when we recognize something is wrong, we have to do something about it. So generally when we recognize we're sick, we do go to the doctor, or we do try to take some medicine of some kind. And we may study first of all, what the anartha is, what the problem is there. Laziness is also another form of inattention in chanting the holy names. So what to do when these things come along, anarthas? Well, we've already mentioned what Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, we have to beat the mind. No. Anarthas have to become artha. So if possible, these anarthas have to be channeled in devotional service. Artha is useful, anartha is not. So if sometimes we can channel them in Krishna service, and that may help us to become, let's say, a little bit more positive and purified. It's only by the mercy of the Lord, Bhakti even know that I think, is praying that it's impossible for the living entity to overcome, on their own, that is, overcome these problems. It's only possible by the mercy of the Lord. Therefore, we should fervently pray for the Lord for his mercy. There is no other means. So prayer to the Lord, but there has to be with sincere intent. Not just mechanical is better than nothing, but ultimately for that eradication of these anartha nivritti. Okay, let's go through the process of step-by-step sadhana. Presuming everyone is at least on the platform of bhajana kriya, who are trying to practice some kind of devotional service. There's a stage in where our bhajana kriya goes from anashtita bhajana kriya to nishta bhajana kriya. Anashtita bhajana kriya is what you're talking about here, unsteady, lazy, irregulated, maybe becoming diminished even. It's certainly anashtita, and if offenses are there, or if our association is not good, association is a major factor here. We've already, sadhu sangha is one of the previous stages before bhajana kriya. So it remains. It's not that we drop one stage and go on to the next. The previous stage still remains here. Sadhu sangha is essential. Oftentimes, because we look on all these things on the internet, we watch all this stuff, we hear negativity, we associate with people who are negative, or lazy or attached to material things, then the effect will come onto us also. Associate with those who are positive. Don't waste time unnecessarily associating with one thing after the next, which is maybe remotely connected to Krishna, but not that connected. But try to associate with things which are directly connected to Krishna more and more and more, association like that. So this stage in sadhana or in bhajana kriya stage where a nishtita or unsteady devotional service transforms into steady devotional service. And traditionally, or let's say in reality, that connection or that change takes place when one actually surrenders to a spiritual master. But both have to be there, surrender and spiritual master, not that we just make an artificial show of it, or we're not actually taking connection with it, parampara, because at that point of time, then one receives, generally, traditionally, one receives one's sadhana, one receives one direction, one's supposed to. Prabhupada said, you promise that you'll follow these principles, you promise you'll chant in minimum 16 rounds, or whatever it is at that point of initiation. And if one sticks to that promise, follows the process given by the spiritual master, then one will gradually, by the grace of Krishna, one will gradually become purified. That's the process. And it's not just that. Of course, we have to avoid the offenses while we're chanting. The tendency is we're offensive, we're inattentive, we're attached to material things, we criticize devotees, we have misconceptions about the absolute truth, many things. Yeah. Where it's we have to take it seriously. So we hear the 10 offenses are there. We try to chant the holy name, avoiding the 10 offenses. Intention may still be there, but we try to cultivate attentive chanting by following. You read the books on chanting the holy name, or direct us there to find out more on that. But becoming more serious in our chanting and hearing. Regulation, Nasta Preshu, we were going to read the verses today, but we didn't get around to it. Nasta Preshu, Badreshu, Nityam Bhagavata Seva, Bhagavati Uttama Shloka Bhakti Bhagavati, by regularly hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service to those devotees, the great devotees, those who are freed of all vice, great service done by such service. No, that's the previous verse. But by this service, all the dirty things in the heart become destroyed practically to nil by regular hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam. Serving the Vaisnavas includes chanting the holy names of Krishna. By this regulation, try to be regulated. Arjuna asked this question, the mind is more difficult to control than a raging wind, which says it's difficult, but by detachment or proper association and by regulation, you can conquer over it. So you've got to make that effort, that's all. It's not going to happen by some kind of magic or something. We have to make our practical endeavor, putting our faith in the instructions, the bhajana, which is given to us. And by the mercy of Krishna, the anarthas will be dissipated. We'll come to the anartha nivritti stage, freedom from anarthas. Hare Krishna. Well, I'm going to, there's one or two more. If we feel we are suffering reactions of offenses to devotees and we have already apologized to the devotee, what else can we do? Or do we have to live with it? You said this is on Facebook, Vrindavan Madhurya. Thank you, Mata. Or Das Prabhu, where is it? Prabhu, Vrindavan Madhurya Das. What do we do? Well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, you can't imitate these great devotees, but we can try to meditate on their words. One should cry in one's heart, pitifully in one's heart, how unfortunate I am. Pray to the Lord, pray, and just chant with all your hearts. Try to serve that devotee in whatever way you can. Krishna understands. And if we're going through that, it's not that you just have to live with it exactly, because Krishna's part is these things don't happen by chance. There's something in our heart which Krishna is pointing out, which will be rectified. It's called Anutapa. Anutapa means a feverish experience of fever within our own hearts. It's like painful burning in the heart. But if we have the right intention, that we're sincere, and it's not one, why are they not forgiving me? I apologize and they're still not forgiving me. This is wrong, If we have the negative approach, but if we feel I must have been such an offender, I deserve to suffer Tattenu kampam susamikshamanam bunjana ivatmakita vipakam. Praise the Lord Brahma. You take shelter of those. And this feeling of remorse, repentance within the heart. We don't stop our service, but the feeling is there. And that anutapa will gradually purify. Tapa meaning suffering or austerity. And very like a fiery pain within the heart. This will cleanse our consciousness, cleanse us. Krishna is allowing these things to happen because it's necessary for our self-purification. But it's not that it's going to be a permanent situation. When we wake up, the realization will come and genuine repentance will take place in our hearts. So the very cause of our offending a Vaishnava is removed, not just that one Vaishnava, but the very cause behind it, the attitude behind it will be changed. And this whole thing is to change our attitude, not to change the karma, but to change the attitude. We're not here to change karma, we're here to change the attitude. And that's what Krishna is doing when these experiences take. We have to see that it's not the other person's fault, or it's not the process' fault, it's my own. I'm still harboring, knowingly or unknowingly, some attitudinal situation which is unfavorable for devotional service. And Krishna is actually helping me to realize this. That's a personal thing. You can't analyze each and every situation, but it's a personal, it's always some deeper reason. Everything has a deeper reason. On the surface, that's easy to say. You know, we get angry or whatever, somebody does something, they offended me, why aren't they forgiving me, this, that, and the other, but that's not the point. We're missing the whole point. Someone does something to us, we hold a grudge for a lifetime, but that's not the point at all. That is not at all going to purify us. We have to look at our own hearts. When faults in others delude and bewilder you, Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, look within, find the faults within our own self. And if we're sincere, Krishna will point them out. And also the means to make that change of heart. Chanting, the pure chanting of the holy name is all pervasive, but sometimes we're not noticing it. We're not taking that shelter, so to speak, because we're still taking shelter somewhere else. We have to take full shelter. What kind of birth do we attain in the next life? Oh, I hope you're not thinking about doing that now. That remains, that's a personal thing between you and Krishna. You would definitely, if you leave your body in Vrindavan, and it depends on our consciousness. Again, Prabhupada has made it quite clear that you may go back to Godhead in this lifetime. If you leave your body in Vrindavan, or if you're still attached, or you're still performing some activities which are not recommended, then you may have to take birth again, but you'll take birth in Vrindavan, usually in the form of one of the other living entities in Vrindavan. But that's a very personal thing again. It's Krishna, that's up to Krishna. But you'll certainly take a good fortunate birth, either in Vrindavan or in another, or in the spiritual realm, or in a place where Krishna is performing his pastimes, we could say, in this universal Brahmanda. So you're very fortunate if you leave your body in Vrindavan, no matter who you are. But you can't, the fact you can't cheat Krishna. Oh, I'm going to just do anything, saying I'll take birth in Vrindavan, then one more birth as a dog or a pigeon or a monkey or something, and I'll go back to Godhead. But it doesn't, Krishna Vrindavan at that moment. That's how it works. It's not as easy as that. To say, I'll just stay here and die in Vrindavan. Of course, some people try to end their lives in Vrindavan, but nothing can be done without the will of the Lord. Even that you can't do without the will of the Lord. I don't know if you some crazy thing like that. I don't know. You have to take birth as a ghost or something in Vrindavan. I don't know. Something like that. But we can't trick Krishna. If it's not to happen, you won't be able to do it anyway. By dying in Vrindavan is not as easy as it sounds. Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm going to start for everybody. It's late at night, so there's almost our dear devotees from the Bhakti Lounge have been with us for this evening session, and devotees from all over the world, in Germany and Fiji and India and Malaysia and Philippines and Australia, New Zealand, France, England, Ireland, Scotland, Germany, Holland, now Belgium, I don't know, all over the place, Switzerland. And let's all try to, this will bring us all together when we think for the common welfare of all living entities and chant the holy names with all our hearts. Denmark, Vijay, I see someone in Denmark, and in Slovakia. They have a border, you have a border with Ukraine, maybe you can do some food for life up there, I don't know. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hello. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I'm just thinking, if only I could just be in a situation with devotees, just to be able to go out on the street and chant all day long and nothing else. Not to say, and we have so many things to do in our lives, but how fortunate that would be. Huh? Whatever we have to do is fortunate in devotional service, but just to live for that, just to spread the holy name in the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So whatever we do, try to keep fully engaged in devotional service, try not to waste time, not to become absorbed in non-devotional, unnecessary. You have your services to do in the world, of course, family and work and so on, but unnecessary, prajalpa and so on. Try to avoid it. Try to be fully engaged in positive devotional service, hearing, chanting the holy name. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you all very, very much. And we pray that you're all safe, and pray for those who are being faced with the tremendous challenge in Ukraine, and all the wonderful devotees who are directly helping there in any way they can, for the devotees and the living entities who are, let's say, being so unnaturally harassed, or whatever you want to call it right now. Golden opportunity for us to open our hearts, to take shelter of the holy name, open our hearts and act compassionately for the welfare of others. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. All glorious to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Hare
Bol.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hari Bol.
Gurudev.
Hari Bol.
Jai
Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.